it came to your last 3, 4 years, let's say in your trading, you've publicly mentioned, I forget the numbers, but 7 mil one year, 2 million another year. So if you can just give me a quick summary of the last 3 years, and I want to peg it to a question. So the last 3 years, roughly, what was your end of year?
All 3 years, probably 2020, 2021, 2022, three, probably more than 15. Just 4 years, probably more.
And how would that be broken down? Because you said one was a big year, then there was
I
less.
I think 2020 was, don't quote me on the numbers, but I'll maybe mix up a year or two. I think 1 year was like 2, then 1 year was like 7.5. I think 1 year was 1.4. I think one was 4.4. Last year was 4.4. But 2020 and 2022, or maybe I mixed them. One was 1.4 and one was like 2 million.
I mean, regardless, big years and big numbers, and
just
we don't see it
for
around.
just something about 2 of those years, right? I think it was 2020 is when I had my biggest trading loss, right?
And that was publicly as well.
Yeah, I had my biggest trading loss. I still closed the year out profitable, over 7 figures. So that's one. And it's not to, brag about it or, oh my God, look, it's more so to showcase that it's not the year that I had. It's the stuff that happened within the year that as a trader, you're still able to come out. And I think the other year, which was 2022, I necessarily didn't trade for majority of the year. I even have like a whole thing on my Instagram. I didn't trade for half the year, primarily because that was the year we were building TradeZello, right? So that's what it was. So there were very few years where I was actively day trading every single day, every single month to month to month to month. So that's why you see the big difference in 2021 to the other years. Because people ask me, well, you had such a big year in 2021. What went wrong the other 1 or 2 years? And it's like, well,
It wasn't level playing field.
in terms of how active I was trading, it wasn't the same. 2020, I was actively trading well, but just that big losing month just kind of destroyed me for like 4 or 5 months, confidence-wise.
So which year would you say, therefore, is the year you're most proud of, given maybe it's not the one that you made the most money, maybe it was climbing back from a big loss? Or
I think it had to be 2020, absolutely. Yeah, because I think because I've never lost that amount of money. Second, it was public, right? I shorted the market, which I was up on at a point. Then when Feds cut the rates and started pouring money into the markets, for me to switch my position, which is what I should have done, I doubled down. I was just so like, I'm going to be right. I put it out publicly. And every single thing I touched after, I lost money on. I remember I shorted Tesla, I lost money. I shorted Zillow, I lost money on. Anything I touched, because I was in such a mentality of the market can't go up. It has to go down. And, from a mental point of view, it's kind of like, oh shit, I think I'm about to have my first red year. This was like in May of 2020. I was like, oh, I'm going to have my first red year. And then it went into, well, do I not know how to trade this market? Because, you start listening to what people are saying.
the comments,
People are like, oh, well, he's been trading a bull market for his whole life, so that's why he's been making money. And then you go, shit, wait. And then, when you take a step back, you're like, well, it doesn't matter as a trader if it's a bull market or bear market because I made money both ways. But then you still let those things start bothering you. So for me to come out of that year green and not just like break even green, over 7 figures green, was it gave me the confidence booster of like, okay, well, I now realize even more that this stuff happens in trading. And I realize even more that my risk has to be on top of everything, because that big loss could have been avoided, but I let my risk go out of control because I wasn't looking at how much I'm risking. I was looking at what I could make if I'm right. And I was so anchored towards I'm going to be right. So the more money and more risk I put in, the more money I will make. So I factored out that I'm going to be wrong. And that kind of just put things that I already knew in perspective, like, shit, this is what happens when you do that. And the biggest thing I learned from that wasn't the mental capital, right? It's not always about it's not always the real financial capital that you lose. It's the mental capital that you lose. When you have such a big loss, yes, you lose the money, but alongside with the money, what else do you lose? You lose confidence. You lose your ability to execute. You lose your ability to trust your setups and trust what you're doing. So every trade afterwards, like I said, I hesitated on, am I sure? Is it working? So things just got really messy. So that's why now when I look at trades, I'm like, okay, well, I'm risking 30 grand a trade. Okay, well, let me not look at the trade from a perspective of, oh, I will make 90 grand or I will make 100 grand. What else will I lose if I'm wrong? And I look at every trade like I am going to be wrong. So that shifted my mindset.
So you don't consider the loss just in the dollar amount; it's the loss plus the other domino effects of the loss.
It depends where I am, but yeah,
Okay.
a lot of times, yeah. Because like if I'm doing really, really well, right? Like let's say I'm on a hot streak, uh, I kind of start getting more on the tip of my toes then because I'm like, okay, well, I'm on a hot streak. If I overplay my hand on the wrong spot one or two times, I don't want to give up too much profits. I don't want to lose too much money. And I also don't want to immediately destroy this momentum I have. So I want to get more selective because when you do really, really well as a trader, you start developing more blind spots, right? And I've seen that happen. Like I've seen myself go on like a 3-week winning streak and then the week after I have the worst trading week and I'm like, well, how did I even take this trade? And I realize it's those mental blind spots because you start winning for so long that you stop doing the things you were originally doing. You stop looking at trades from a different perspective. You start looking at like, I can't be wrong. And that's happened to me. So just kind of taking those lessons and compiling them together was big for me.